Hello and welcome to your first Lightroom tutorial. What I'm going to do in this video is what I call Lightroom Basics. What I have up here is an older Lightroom catalog, and I'm going to be creating a new catalog, going through what a catalog means, going through an import of some images off of my camera, and talking about how to export to PDF. Along the way, we're going to start to get to know Lightroom. And again, this is sort of considered very sort of basics. As we move through the semester, we're going to do very pointed and specific things in relation to Lightroom. But today is sort of getting used to what this thing does, what this piece of software is, and understanding how to use it in relation to the images you're going to take for Project 1. Okay? So, with all that said, let's talk about what Lightroom is. Lightroom is unlike any other digital imaging piece of software because it is a database. Unlike something like Photoshop, Lightroom is what is considered non-destructive editing, meaning that it stores information about a group of images or a singular image and simply applies those changes that you've made to this image to the image on the screen. You always have your original image, and your Lightroom catalog doesn't actually contain your images, but rather sort of points to them and points to where they are in a specific folder. Okay, so how does that differ from something like Photoshop? Well, Photoshop, and we're going to work with Photoshop later. Photoshop, generally speaking, you're working with a singular image that you open up and sort of edit, save it, and close it. You'll see that in a Lightroom catalog we have multiple images. I'm down here in what's called my film strip, and I can sort of cruise through images and sort of make decisions on editing or grouping and all sorts of things, all within this program. You'll also note that this is self-contained. I'm sort of moving it around. It doesn't, like a lot of other programs, used to be, less so these days, have tons of different windows that can sort of pile on top. You're always going to be basically inside this sort of self-contained unit. Okay. Up here at the top, you'll see library, develop, those being some of the most important ones. We're going to deal with print as well. These are what are called Lightroom modules. Okay. Now, back to this idea that Lightroom is a catalog. Right now I just have an old catalog open. You guys are going to have one main catalog that you work with this semester. Okay. We're going to make what's called collections. We're going to use what's called metadata to sort of parse out, denote, whatever you want to call it, different groups of images. Okay. Today, what we're going to do, and you should be doing, is creating your master catalog, your catalog that's going to have all your images for this semester. Okay. Before we head into that, you should note that you should have two things. One is your camera, and some of you might have actually your images on a flash drive or USB drive or hard drive of some sort. That's okay. You either have your camera or you have the images you've taken. I'm talking about the sort of 10 images that you took for this week using your light meter, and you should have a storage device. Okay, your SD card or whatever card you have in your camera is not your storage device. That is your storage device for your camera. You must have a separate, I believe the syllabus said 16 gigabyte flash drive at least, for you to store your images, etc. on. Okay, some of you may be using your high school, your computers in the labs. That's up to your proctor and sort of how you've arranged your course. Note that if you're saving directly to a computer, that's the only place you're going to be able to access those images. So if you want to work at home, if you happen to have Lightroom, your friend has Lightroom on their computer, if you're saving to something other than a portable drive, you cannot work on those images. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I have an old catalog open here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, New Catalog, and I'm going to name this catalog, or first I'm going to find where I want to put this catalog, and I have a folder for this course, and I'm going to call this, this is going to be my digital photography folder. And I'm going to save this catalog as my first name and my my first name and my last name. Okay, and I'm going to hit create. Okay, don't worry about this. This is back up the catalog. What you're going to see is actually Lightroom closing down, and if we wait a second, it's going to open up. Okay, and what it's going to open up is a blank new catalog. There it is, right on time as I say it. Opening new catalog, davidluke.lrcat. That lrcat stands for Lightroom catalog. Okay. When it does finally pop up, you'll see that it is going to be blank. There's really nothing in it, which is a good thing. I'm sort of starting from scratch here. It's a little too big. Position this. So, I have a new catalog. You'll see at the top it says davidluke.lrcat. Okay, this catalog should be saved just as should be created in your storage device. Okay, my storage device is actually my computer because that's where I'm going to be storing files for this course. Again, I cannot stress enough, your SD card is not your storage device. Okay, so what do we need to do here? What we need to do is a couple things, and first and foremost is probably to get some images. So I'm going to go to File, Import Photos and Videos. Okay. What we get here is a screen that is probably one of the most important beginnings to sort of setting up your Lightroom catalog. I have seen many people mess up this stage. And I don't want you guys to mess it up, so let's sort of take this step by step. What we need to look at over here is, first of all, is a source. Select a source. I have my camera plugged in. It's right here. Okay. And we basically need to pay attention to, over here on the right-hand side, the destination. Note that you have all these panels. When you're new to Lightroom, I like to sort of close those panels down. Okay. And sort of only hone in on the ones that are necessary. So I'm going to go to this destination one. Okay, it can be very confusing if you, especially are working on a computer that you don't aren't familiar with, or if you're working on a Mac and you're used to a PC. So take your time with this step. So I'm going to look at destination. Okay. Especially if you're working on a school computer or a networked computer, you're going to see all this stuff over here. What you need to do, and this is very sort of general advice, is go find where you want to put your images. Okay, so I'm going to go to a teaching folder that is Fall 2014 in my online digital photography class. Okay. So I am choosing a folder that is in the folder where I'm going to store my stuff. Okay, it's very important that you set up a disk that has a folder called digital photography. Okay, that is where, when you created your new catalog, you are going to sort of save that LRCat to, and it is also where you're going to put your images when you import. Okay, do not skip this step. Do not ignore that you have a destination. Okay, and it may be you see all this stuff right here. This is all just stuff on my computer, all sorts of things. Okay, we need to make sure that we have a folder. Mine's called NCC, Normandale Community College, Online Digital Photography. Okay, so what does this mean? What is this in here? These are the images on my camera. I have some images on my camera that I'm sort of using as examples for the demonstrations I'm doing here. Okay, when you're looking to import some images, we have a couple things we need to pay attention to. One is this idea up here, copy as DNG, or just copy. I want to copy as DNG. What this means is I'm copying over and creating what's called a digital negative. A digital negative is a very sort of generic file format that Lightroom uses, and it's what we want to sort of convert your images to. You probably have what's called a JPEG on your camera. Most of you probably know what a JPEG is. Okay. Now, a couple things to note. You can sort of check and uncheck all photos. You can check all, uncheck all. What you can also do is sort of check one and then move sort of forward 4 images and check another, or sort of, sorry, select them all and check one of them, and that will sort of check multiple ones in case you wanted to just check sort of 1 through 4 or something like that. Okay, so you'll see as you hit these, you can sort of highlight them. Okay, I held down Shift when I sort of selected this one. I have Shift. Maybe you can hear Shift. I have that. And I hold down Shift when I select that one. I check one of them, and they all get checked. Okay. I'm just going to check all because I have a nice clean card. Actually, it looks like I have a little mistake here at the end, so I'm going to uncheck that one. But here I have 15, 20 images. Okay. Now, the last thing we need to do during the import, and I'm going to sort of close down this destination because I already sort of denoted where it's going, is to apply during import. Okay. Apply during import has to do with what is it that you want to what sort of information, and in this case it's called metadata. Metadata is data that you attach to photographs as you import them. This is very useful in the sort of database aspect of Lightroom. What we want to apply during this import is very, very simple. I'm going to assume that you guys are watching this again probably in the coming week as you import your Project 1 images. So if these are line and shape, you might want to type in here on the keywords Project 1. Okay. That way, later, you can sort of, and I'll show you how to do so, go through and find just Project 1 images. You can imagine this becoming very useful later in the semester when you have Project 2 photos, or when you have all sorts of photos that you can sort of, it might get confusing in this big giant master catalog. Okay, so I have chosen my source. I have chosen my destination very carefully. Again, do not disregard this. I can't stress that enough. And last but not least, apply during import. I've simply attached this Project 1 keyword. Okay, so with all that said, I am going to hit import. You can look up here and you can see the progress of your images coming in. Here they will sort of slowly start trickling in. What I'm going to do is actually stop the video after this import, or probably right here. I have a 15-minute limit on the recordings. You might get this, sorry, one quick thing, you might get this window non-raw files converted to DNG. That's a good thing. We're going to click OK. What I'm going to do is stop the video and do a sort of part 2 to this, just to sort of talk about Lightroom once we have some images in it, and last but not least, show you how to think about this print and this export dialog box. So stay tuned for part 2.